Hello again. It's Sunday, which means it's time for my booktube shoutouts. So, let's just get to the shoutouts. First person I'm going to be shouting out is Monica Reads. I watched her July wrap-up and August TBR. She had a couple of interesting books in her video. A couple books I haven't heard of, like Invisible Ghost and Dreamfall. She had a lot of personal things that I guess she's going through that she talked about in the beginning of her video. She does have I watched a couple of her videos and she is a little, I guess, worried about how she comes across, and I could tell you right now, Monica, don't worry about it. I love your videos. Keep doing them. I hope whatever you're going through, you can get through it and continue being on BookTube. You're an asset to the community. Just keep chugging along. All of you guys should definitely check out Monica Reads' channel. I really enjoyed watching her wrap up. Great job. And that's Monica Reads. Next person I'm going to talk about is booknerduntil the very end. I watched her July wrap up, and I think she's probably one of the booktubers that should probably have a advisory for language. Not that I have a problem with it. In fact, I actually really enjoyed it. But if you are a person who doesn't like a foul language in a video, you might not want to watch any of Book Nerd's videos. I still really enjoyed her July wrap-up. Had a lot of interesting books that she talked about. She actually read 24 books, which is pretty wild for the month of July. She talked about some fantasy books. She talked about some manga. She talked about Wicked Deep, which I really loved as well. She mentioned the Ember and the Ashes series, which I've heard a lot of booktubers talk about that I'm probably going to have to pick up. And again, just really enjoyed watching her video. Great person you should check out. That is booknerduntil the very end. Next person I'm going to talk about is Book Budget Project. I watched her Books I Read in July wrap up. A lot of good books there. She talked about Darkest Minds. She talked about a couple of different books. What I really liked about her video is when she talked about the things she didn't like in a book, especially even books that she thought were okay, she really was articulate as far as exactly what she didn't like about a book, and it was really detailed in that. And sometimes when people don't like books, they want to sugarcoat it, or they don't want to say in detail why they didn't like a book. And I really liked her details of exactly the problems she had with some of the books that she read in July, and I thought it was really refreshing. And again, just great video overall. Definitely a person I think you should check out. That is Book Budget Project. Next person I'm going to talk about is Just a Little Bit Random. I watched the Pre-America book haul that she did. Very good video. She talked about Lifelike, which I did read by Jay Kristoff. She talked about this book called Whisper that sounded really good. Another book called Ice Wolves. She had a lot of good books that she talked about. Again, I really just liked her style and the way she did her videos. Definitely a person I think you should check out. That is Just a Little Bit Random. Next person I'm going to talk about is Ingrid In Neverland. I watched her Books I Read in July and August TBR. And again, really great video. She talked about the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've heard a lot about that book, and the way she described it made me really want to read it. She also talked about a Peter Pan retelling called Peter Darling, which sounds interesting. So definitely a couple of interesting books on her video, and again, I just like her style and the way she does her videos. Definitely a person I think you should check out. That is Ingrid In Neverland. Next person is Sophie Reads. I watched her July book haul. Really good book haul. She talked about Wonder. She talked about this one book called Neverworld Wake, which sounds really interesting. She had Handmaid's Tale. She talked about 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo as well. She talked about Toil and Trouble, and a bunch of other books that were really interesting. And again, just liked her style. Person I definitely think you should check out. That is Sophie Reads. Next person is Gryffindorkwinchester. I watched her July wrap-up. Really enjoyed her style. Literally enjoyed the presentation, how she did her video. She talked about Ace of Shades. She talked about Daughters of Smoke and Bone trilogy, which I do want to pick up one day. And Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. So a couple of interesting books that she covered up in her wrap-up. And like I said, really nice personality. Really enjoyed watching her videos. And definitely somebody I'm going to be keeping an eye on. That is Gryffindorkwinchester. Next person is Moriarty and Her Books. I watched the Strand book haul part 1 that she did. She had a lot of nonfiction in there, some psychology, philosophy type nonfiction books, which is really interesting to find out about. I know Nonfiction November is coming up soon, so I got a couple of good recommendations now for that, because I do want to read some more nonfiction. She also had a history book called Age of Extremes, which sounded really good, about the 20th century. And like I said, just a great presence. Really enjoyed watching her videos, and a person I definitely think you should check out. That is Moriarty and Her Books. Next person I'm going to talk about is Wedges of Lemon. I watched her July book haul. She talked about Alice, which is a horror retelling of Alice in Wonderland by Christina Hendry. She also talked about The Mermaid by her as well. I definitely want to read some of those books. I've heard about them now a couple of times, and they sound really interesting, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading them. And she also talked about a couple of other interesting books as well. She talked about The Boy on the Bridge, which is a companion novel to Girl with All the Gifts. I loved Girl with All the Gifts, so I should pick that up one day. But again, just great personality, really enjoyed her videos, and definitely somebody I think you should check out. That is Wedges of Lemon. And the last person I'm going to talk about is Readerbee. I watched her huge Yelp book haul. She talked a lot about contemporaries because there's a lot of contemporaries in that event. And again, I just really liked her style and the way she covered her books. A lot of interesting books there. She also talked about this book called City of Halves, which is supposedly a book that if you're a fan of the Mortal Instruments, you should pick up. I am definitely going to put that on my radar. She talked about a book called The Herding, which sounds really interesting. All in all, again, just a great video and a person I definitely think you should check out. That is Readerbee. And those are all the people I'm going to shout out this week. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.